All right. To get anything done, is to have what? Patience. Patience. Patience, everyone. Patience. Patience is everything that you can imagine. Without patience, nothing's coming to formation, location, of balance. Perseverance, obviously, you never give up in any way and form, right? But what is patience? Why do we need patience? Well, because you're all formations of energy. And if you can't balance out your energy, how are you going to understand anything of patience? Quiet the mind, calms the soul. Quiet the mind, calms the soul. Quiet the mind, calms the soul. You guys are creating scenarios. You're creating structure. You're creating division. You're creating images. You're creating schematics. You've got to start getting control with that. Because I'm telling you right now, in position March 1st, your cerebral cortex lines are going to be no more aligned connections of thoughts. You're going to be images. And everything you say is going to affect you in everything that you do. Okay? Getting into that line connections, get you on the levels of balance. Yes, there's a lot of traffic here, but I have that under control. Okay? Because I have patience. I calm my center. Because if my core is reacting to anything, it changes everything. Okay? It changes everything in seconds, minutes, and hours. Because we go through a clocking system, we go on a 24 line sending line interference. What happened within that 24 day? And that's at locations, right? That's right. It's not a 24-hour, it's a 24 day. Okay. So try calculating line interference. You come in and position all one's line settings in a month. Let's set location line 8. Position lines at 29, 30, 31 on a calendar day. There's no calendar day in space in any way information line centers. Okay. Now that's all levels of memory reset lines to its program location in your system attractions. Understanding how to use your formations to your settings and location. Anything to dimensional screen line, anything to application line and position your compute line connections. Right? So I always have everything in control. Because if it's not in control, what happens? It goes out of control, which means you're not in habitation. The consuming knowledge of your line calculation setting is your prodigy, your system. That is coming back in tractions. You're all inner line connections of inner child of a prodigy system. Everybody knows what a prodigy is, right? So you're coming into your brains. You're coming into your brainwaving pattern. You're coming in your line calculations, but you got to be patient and you've got to be quiet in the mind. It's the concept of all calculation of mind adaptation. You guys have been creating thoughts and thoughts and thoughts for decades and not understanding what your thoughts are doing. It's going through mind, it's going through travel. So you're not going to be traveling anymore. You're going to be going through the mind of travel. That is a switch. That is a rotation. That is a circulation. No more thoughts. Your thoughts are coming in image of frame, of story. And that's going to become your reality of your life that you co-create in your line condition, your settings of mind of navigation that you put in position, location, attraction. Okay? So be careful what you say. Be careful what you do. Okay? Be careful what you see. All around you is everything of awareness. Everything is awareness. Right? All the lights are aware of you. Are you aware of the lights? That's consciousness on its own, guys. Right? Are you aware when you get up in the morning? Yes. Are you aware you're going to work? Yes. Are you aware you're in a car? Yes. Are you aware you just had breakfast? Yes. Are you aware you just had coffee? Yes. So you're aware of everything around you. Now you have to come into awareness of consciousness inside you. That's the change. Right? Everything has to change. So changing, okay, is a calculation setting to structured design, which is protocol, prodigy, profit, anything in set lines, hide interference, see yourself location setting, or position locations of yourself in conditions of GOD. What does it mean by GOD? What is the mechanisms of GOD? What is the calculations of GOD? You are GOD. Now, what's inside? Outside. This body. The body is the GOD. It's the geometrics, it's the geometry, and it's the GPS. Okay? Which is very powerful. But do you recognize that in settings? No. You only recognize what you only know. Well, the provision cycles are changing calculation in your system consciousness now. You're coming in more formation line connection to your settings. You're not just seeing thoughts, you're seeing images of thoughts. Yes. So you're going back into your spiritual adaptation line connections where you're supposed to be. Okay. That 99.9% human and 1% spiritual. That's gone. Your capacity is going to be 98.2. 98.2. Now, position and track line is going to put two lines of provisions. That puts line calculation, your security line, division line, screen center interference. But that's better than 75. All right. So I want you to understand your track through communication line settings, understand your capacities, how to use your transmitters, and how to use the resistors and set location in your system, all through capacity. Your capacities, your body capacitor, your ego capacitors, your triangulation line connection, your capacitors, your formations, your flux capacitors. Everything is a capacity, is volume. Everything you speak is binary. Speak, S-P-E-A-K, binary. Now break it down. What does speak mean? Speak, 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 right? You see an image, speaking. That's an image, right? Set position of a tree. Tree, there's a tree standing right there. There's the image, right? That's how you're going to see things. So you're not going to see the thought anymore. You're going to see the image. So you're not losing your thoughts. You're gaining the image of thoughts, of what you already co-created in the mind, adaptation of consciousness that puts a position to abstraction. Okay? So again, if you say, I want to see a bouncing ball, you're seeing that through intent. Boing, 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 boing. You're going to see the ball bouncing, right? And you have to address it, because if you don't address it, it's not going to disappear. It's going to stay there. It's going to stay there every single time. It's not going to leave in position. It will be in the mind. So the concept of the reality is basically why you get in correlation settings and position of track lines in your manifestation already in abundance. How do you think you get your abundance? What is it formations of? Thoughts. But it's not thoughts, it's images now. Okay? Your position, your dimension. Okay? So you really have to start addressing the elephant in the room now, because it's not going to be metaphorically. It's going to be there, and you're going to see it. Nobody else is going to see it. Only you, because you co-created it. So this is about balancing how to use your body through telepathy. This telepathizes everything in locations, how to use it through telekinesis. So in that position track lines, you're going to see images going back and forth. You communicate with each other through observation, through intent or influence. Okay? You've got to get balanced with what you're doing, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're tasting, what you're eating, what you're forming, what you're communicating with, what you're listening to. Everything is going to be a formation of an image. Okay? So once you understand that, then you understand you have to get in balance of your string lines of consciousness, how you come into that allocated lines calculation setting to that mind of switching. It's the conscious line calculation setting to your system. This is the cerebral cortex line, the mystical cortex lines interference, 98.2. We set it at 98.2 because it's 9 in provision lines, a calculation line interference, 8 lines of infinity, position track lines, and 2 positional calculation security. Right? So that's 2 over line settings of pi. You work with correlation setting. That's 2%. Okay? And that correlates calculation your behavioral location line settings and position of pi, calculation to a stream and interference of tri-line connections. You're also going to be working with the tri-line screen. That direct location, your pixelation screen location, your pictures and high calculation position programs. Understand the correlation line calculation telepathizing in your position telekinesis. This puts you in position before you say anything in traction, right? Because you're not just basically creating karma. You're going to see the karma that you created through an image. Okay? And it's not going to disappear until you address it. Okay? All right. So getting in the images gets you in schematics, gets you into drawings, gets you into structures, gets you into the inner child. Why is the inner child drawing a picture? What is that in position? What is it creating? A binary. It's formulating. It's creating models, higher levels of teleportation, higher levels of communication, higher levels of operation, higher levels of understanding who I am, right? Higher levels of me, understanding me, myself, and I. Me understanding I, and I understanding myself. But it's all levels of formations inside, right? This is a balanced screen lines that you guys have to come in into the location of your settings. Now, spacing lines are going to be in a triple helix in calculations, and positional team line is going to be in a 7-line connection. 3 crowns is species, 7 crowns in position all levels of team. Now, that's a lot of waves of communication, sending attractions, what we think in conscious location. The subterranean, the sublocation, the subline, and subdivision. We're coming into subdivision. Correlations of water containment screen settings and high travel and positions, operations, surface. It's going to re-angle point to line conditions of your phones. Direct modification settings and travel calculation of point center. How you communicate your phone has to be in telepathized settings and travel. Your position line calculation settings. Power of communication, power of the mind, power of B. Okay? Knowing exactly what you are seeing in that position to its program. Processing communications, understanding how to balance out your images of what you say before you say it. Right? So we really have to come into that formation. Right? So that's all it is. All right, so in that correlation to track lines, now we got a line calculation set of numbers. Now we're going to put numbers and letters together. Okay, team's got to get information lines and high calculations. Line system come into a film strips of design and application. Film strip, image, 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 image. So every time you speak, you're creating an image of a film strip. Starting from correlation setting and track line size interference. 4 line calculation setting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 set line conditions. Okay, all through a film projector. Direct lines calculation line interference. Let's start with beta. Get like alpha. Let's add delta and theta communications. 3 track line conditions. Right. So you got an alpha line communication, ground lines. Get a delta headings and line conditioning of theta. Sets the communication line to its image. Sets position, program, location, setting the track. So what is it doing? Formulation in its image. Here it is in correlation. Image and set line. So you have their address in the room. And set location. Okay, so it's putting all this together into one frame through alpha, delta, and theta. Beta is always a reference. Beta equals lines at high calculation lines and high position powers. Power of charge, power position calculations. So beta equals lines correlates into 12 lines in set location of 24 blocking system and travel calculation point centers. Okay, so use beta as a reference. You need beta because beta is the balanced line screen. Sets correlations of clock lines, highest interference of 12, position line settings, northwest, south, and east, 12, 12, 12, 12, and set position line calculations. All right. So once you have that image, what's going to happen? Travel calculation, point line centers, and travels. Okay. So remember, all this is coming in traction. That's what happens when you create images. Right? So what do you think the image is going to do in set position? What's it going to do? Right? You're here in track line connection, highest interference. The image is going to get very comfortable through your universe line screen and do anything it wants. It can travel wherever it wants to be. It's going to stay in your system until you address it in the room in its application. It's not going to go anywhere because you co-created it. So there's a split line triangulation of screen lines, high center interference, and interface position of power. Okay, you co-created that. Now you have to address it. Okay, all right. Balance screens, calculation high interference, and position of core. Core track line settings and position line center interference and direct location near setting position calculations. Now, directing lines and line center interference, we got into 0, 1 subtraction, right? So because you guys are in line centers, you're in 0.1 in set locations, right? Equals lines correlation setting as shape of triangulation, except as location line centers. Setting calculation line interference in travel calculation of 0, in position of 0, in position of 0. That's through shape. Use location equals line center location of levels into grounds. Okay, so how to turn the 0, 1 equals line centers of levels of ground. So 0, 1 equals now it's GOD equals locations of levels of grounds. So you turn in 0, 1 into God, geometric operation design, into levels of ground through letters. Okay, so I'm just showing you exactly how you can come in a 3 provision cycle and line connection setting and travel calculations. Turn the 0s, 1s into another geometric operation design, modification setting, console, calculation, navigation, location, line, location, adaptation, line, interference, and location setting to travel communication line in position to a center travel calculations. Directing lines, modification lines, all levels of grounds. Okay, that's how you turn 0, 1 into its setting, modification to LG. Okay, how you turn 0, 1 equals lines of levels of the ground. How you turn 0.1 in line connection equal lines of 3 zeros into that location of triangulation. Okay, this is going beyond the mind setting. Okay, all right. Basic understanding is for you guys to understand the calculations when you come into your images, right? So the first thing that you say is coming into what? You got your transistors and you got your resistors, right? So you got your mainframe and you got your box frame. Okay. Mainframe sets position travel calculation line center interference. You're the mainframe position travel. Your track location line system is part of accelerator and travel communications, right? So every time you create an image, your multiple self is traveling to its image in position of box frame. Okay. Multiple levels of another box frame. Now it's 2 line settings. Oh, wait a minute. Now it's 3 line settings. Okay, so you created 3 lines, position of 4, 5, 6 images in set location of a sentence, all through box frame and mainframe view. Okay, so there's always ways of looking at things, understanding the set lines when you come to your oscillations, the oscillators, and the acceleration line connection, your accelerator, and line connection, your cellular. Direct lines of panels and all communication settings of travel. So be very cautious in what you're doing with your calculation setting when species are coming to all lines of trimesters, tri-connection settings, high interference, line direct signal location operation, several location setting to their oscillators or the oscillation. Right. Same with the species. Species is coming in a film strip line design. Okay, in position of images. Okay, a lot more data, a lot more process, a lot more communication, interaction. Okay, so species, 1 image at a time in set lines of frame position. Species, team. Okay, all right. So once you get into core track line settings, it's knowing about exactly how to get into formation lines. Let's start with a 0. Let's go into all levels of a letter. Let's pick B. O equals B, right? What is B? Well, it could be anything through bound. Okay, in equals lines of 0, in line counting highest interference and levels of grounds. Bound, okay, equals 0 lines of levels of grounds, right? So you're bounding the information cycle. So in that track line condition highest interference, you really have to get into adaptation how to 0 turns into balance or boundful or beautiful or bounty or anything lines. You take the 0 correlations and interaction lines of point centers, and you take the position line calculations to its B, and you formulate it around pi. How many times can you go the outline set location of what B is in representation? So that's what you're doing. You're creating the clocking lines of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols through pi. You break down the letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. You break down the letters, okay, that comes into its settings, but you don't see it as a word. You see it as a frequency. It's a frequency word, not a word frequency. Okay. So in that position line calculations, how you position travel calculation point centers. Let's go in position line centers of 1. 1 equals lines in position locations of k. Okay, so that's 1 equals k. What is k? Kaleidoscope. Open signal, line connection, line centers, position location, sun and the moon. All right, very simple. So what you're doing is you're creating an image line screen, right? That's an image, kaleidoscope. Looking glass, position of travel. Rounds position of travel correlation to travel calculations. Point lines of setting, high interference, security. Sets position location or centers. So we all have to understand, if you get in position locations and you say mic, well, you got a mic. Calculation setting. Okay, mic, you see an image of a mic. So I'm trying to help you guys out so you can break these things down in patterns. Remember how you come to the singularity line connection of transistors and resistors? How one goes on, you got the 0 correlation setting. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. This calculation, this is 1. Equals lines of 4, 4 line calculations of 5, set lines of 6, set lines of 7, set lines of 8, set lines of 9, set lines of 10, all through your setting locations, right? So in that track lines, how many images are you going to be using? Because you're using the correlation setting of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols all together, right? So in that position, you guys are using numbers and letters, right? So let's use the 1, let's use the 2, and let's use the 5. Okay. Now it's the 3-track line connection setting, right? Sets position lines of alpha, delta, and theta communication, right? Beta is always at the bottom. Okay, it's always at the bottom. It's always referenced. You need the beta because it's a 12-line cycle. Sets lines equal lines of 24. Right, it's applications. Okay, so beta is always in there. Right? So the track lines and communication line interference. When you understand the transition location settings, how to turn on and turn off a switch location system, you can change lines of numbers into the line connection in your settings of all applications. Okay. So I know exactly how to connect on certain lines of frames. So set the image location system. I am here. I am here. Okay. All through this image. Okay. I am here. Right. So we get a 1-track lines at 3-line connection high center interference in position of 1. Right. So that identifies 1 communication in 2 line centers of 1, 1, 2, 1. Right. Equals lines calculation high interference equals the image. Okay, so now you break that down, how computer comes into its memory, correlates and sending a transition location to its binary. 1, 2, 1 becomes its binary. All right, that equalizes calculation high interference, set position location line center interference, position of 0. Set lines of calculation line interference into 2 and position location to 1. There it is. Boom. So we turn this into a diamond. Okay. All right. So that position its files and data, process correlation setting. So that's a 4-track division in cycles of communication to its image. All right. So what is that in 4-line? Solar generator. It's satellite connections. Boom. Okay. That's 4-line settings and 4 zeros. So 1, 2, 1. And a 3-track line image. Now I'm just showing you how a computer goes through its image lines, the location of the placebo cortex lines, and cerebral line setting location to its mental calculation setting position of its operation. It correlates the calculation stream interference of travel. So 1, 2, 1. So 1 is the grounds, 2 is security. I use it a box frame position of parameters of arrows of indication, setting calculation high, setting line conditions. Setting calculation line interference. You can have security at any line condition, what it is you through its image, right? So you start to understand everything you're saying is coordinating longitude and latitude and position to its location, to its image, into its brain, into its story, into its life, into your reality. Okay. So 1 line centers. Okay. So that's 1 line is security over 1 line ground. Okay. So that's lines a high travel location setting to travel communication. That's the image. 1, 2, 1. All through its binary. Okay. So binary, doesn't matter. See the difference? See how it correlates the travel communication 1, 2, 1. How it becomes 1 line, security lines of 1. How it becomes Box frequency line calculates and settings of 4 zeros communication system of soul generator. That's the image, right? So you think like a computer, you are a computer, I am a computer. This is the process we all have to come into. But like I said, you have to break these things down. You have an L and you have a pi, center correlations and native track lines, and three position of 4 line settings. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Sets lines of 5 equals lines of L equals lines of grounds. Okay? So we got to find line settings and levels and position location of grounds. Okay, so that's 2 panels of security and set location of pi. Track calculation line interference, triangulation, 3 arrows, position of 2 and 5 set locations. Okay, so all you're doing is basically you're gaining more communication of your thought, but the actual thought is now an image. So when you see that, it gets much easier to understand that through its numbers and its letters. Once we get the numbers and letters in position of shapes to a symbol, then we come into a projector of projections of its image to its film, of its life, of its reality, of its algorithm, of its story frame. So in that settings and high calculation of its point system, everything gets easier. Like I said, with 4 lines and 3, what is 43? How do I turn 43 into a shape, right? 4 track line connection, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4, right? Where's the 3? Right there. 1, 2, 3. Put together. Okay. 4 track lines, 24, 48, 72, 144. All right. So the box line setting is position locations at 144, right? 24, 48, 72, and 144 in track locations. Okay. Now that all depends on the clocking settings of what you set location your image. Your image is in the center. Okay. So that's how 43 comes into a shape through travel. Okay. Split the anomalies, you got 3, right? 43. 43 is set locations, right? 4 box triangulation. 4 box triangulation. Okay. Through 24, 48, 72, 144. Right? So what is 43? Through an image. Solar generator. Okay. So you get a solar generator locations in a Fibonacci. Boom. 43. Okay. So all this comes into its image, which is in the center of operation. Okay. All right. Are you guys getting more confused, or are you trying to understand the process, how this all works? It gets much easier if you basically don't get into thoughts and just see it through an image. Try not to formulate thoughts anymore, because thoughts are coming out of the equation. You're just formulating your thoughts into an image now that comes into your telepathize settings to your telekinesis. So you communicate back and forth. So when you're communicating, you have to be very cautious in what you say to yourself and to each other, because it formulates an image. And when it formulates its image, your computer and your settings, your transition resistors, is setting position of travels inside locations to your waves. Okay, your central communication system, that where it comes into lines where you have to come into defrag. Okay, defrag equals lines of frag. Okay, defrag equals frag, right? So identifying setting line high interference and set location line system. Defrag, what is that? Density. Taking the density out, right? Got to think line settings and travel calculation line interference happens to its SIM in correlations to your computer frame line. So density of energy of formation. Okay, density, energy of formation. That's what you're getting rid of, right? So it formulates and calculates and modifies and calculates over pi in traction. Puts all lines of communications back in line in traction. So fragmentation. Forming. Okay. Into remember. Okay. Into its atom. Forming. okay, into its remember, okay, to its atom, okay. So the atom does a rotation spin, tracks its coordinates, and sending a high calculation in its position, okay. Sets communications, 5 track lines calculation. Here's the atom. So when it rotates, it sets lines of communications in what? In setting. When you really get into that formation, what does it come into interaction of? Right? A formation. See, you see it? Flux capacitor. Okay. So there's a flux in everything in settings and travel, especially when you come into accelerations, the accelerators to your oscillations and your oscillators. That's the formations of balance that you guys need to understand through your foundation graph line screens and your 12 DNA track applications and 114 fabrics of space and travel. So you have to start identifying that through all calculation settings, all through the mind of conception, how to see lines of calculations. So when you get into that provisions, guys, you start to understand everything that you're saying through a binary. Okay, this is a binary here. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? That's going to attractions, polarity line screens. Okay, in that settings, it's applications. Change the line connection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there's 6 there, right? What is that? What is that position? What is that position? What is that position of its applications? What is that position of? Box frames, right? Box frames of data. Okay. So you got the zeros, of course, line center height, position travel calculations. The zeros travel. Okay, zeros travel. The traffic flow. Everything travels in its traffic flow calculation setting stream. All right, so what that is in position traffic calculation positions, now you have 0 lines and you come into line condition of letters. Okay. And it's application of G. What's it? H, I. And remember, this is just numbers and letters. And then you come to shapes, and then you come into, you're forming a traffic. You're creating inventory. Okay. So you understand the connections when it does this very fast. So ring graph screen location matrix settings. All right. So if you start location lines of that. Okay. So in that position comes in all formation location of data, process calculations. So that's a 4-track provision, 4 clocking system. And again, you're working with 24, 48, 72, and 144, right? So the image is in the center. Okay, so when you're creating the image, you're creating the binary. And when you're creating the binary, you're creating the capacity of volume. How much volume is through the capacitors, right? And that's set lines of frag and defrag, or you think the codecs, or you think coder or decoder. So it's all about understanding that you have 4 provision cycles equals lines of 6. Okay, so setting a calculation line interference, position travel calculation point centers. So it recognizes position travel lines. Okay, your cortex stream interference and mystical cortex line settings understand position as placebo, understands the cerebral cortex line of its design of its image in a 4-track and a 6 location, right? And so in that position line calculation setting, what is 4? Solar generation lines in your throat in its location. That's its image, right? Through 4/6. Okay, and that's just one image. So you have many images that you're processing. Okay, and that's going through seconds, that's going through minutes, and that's going through hours. Okay, seconds lines of calculation line position location is on probation. So that's lines of communication, lines of travel. Minutes on the line calculation comes into the hours of calculation of its operation. So directing lines of high interference is where you understand how to use the high position of 4/6 or 6/8 or 8 lines of 9/pi. Directing calculating high interference in position traffic calculation point system, your traffic flow has to be in a continuous line set location if it's on a highway. It's creating communication lines of highway and track location of your images. So you can be creating position locations to 27,000 lines of images to 45,000 lines of images through the positive and negative cycles of your karmas in location and polarities. So it's very powerful when you come at that location. Okay. But you know, when you get into combustion, you don't want to have anything through confusion or anything through anxiety or anything through stress, right? Because if you get a binary of zeros and ones, okay, you get a 1. Now you're adding this. Basically, that's at an E. Okay, and you're at 0, 1, 0. So you have to be in balance with what you're putting in. You don't need to put in numbers, letters, shapes, and symbols in the same box of triangulation. You just have to understand the formation of its image that comes into correlation, attractions. So that bounce at the screen line calculation setting positioning weights, but it's position line center interference, go through F, and then we go through G. All right, so we got position line centers as 7, right? 4 zeros lines in high calculation and 3 letters in communication, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 6, 7, 8, right? So that's 8 lines inside locations into 1, 2, 3. 8 equals E, F, and G. Okay. So setting correlation lines of track lines, that's 8 line provision, 4 track lines into 2 singularities, into a pattern. So we put 4 zeros and tractions equals lines of 4 zeros and tractions comes into a pattern. A correlations of 8. Through your computer line calculus into your transistors and resistors. So 8 equals EFG. So EFG is what in set line? Energy line, formation lines of grounds. EFG is the image that goes in setting. Okay. So every time you're speaking, it's coming into a singularity of formations of a box or triangulation and setting, how it formulates your system through identification system, through its image. It's very complicated stuff, but that's how it comes into its binary. This is a binary through 8 equals EFG, right? So this is its binary that you're speaking through, and that's how your computer comes in through its mainframe and track locations, how it speaks, its own voice line grid. EFG is its energy, formations of its grounds. Okay? So that's what it does. The computer sets up the alphabetical system, all right, which is its traffic, which is its flow, which is its data, which is its operating system, okay? Computes and line settings, computation, screen interference, and application interface. So what you're doing is you're creating an algorithm so the computer can understand what you are saying, right? So in that position, you are a computer line. You got to get into the memory of computer frame position of EFG and understand what that means, informations, because that's how a computer relates to everything, information to a grid, which is amazing too, because when you speak, you're speaking through EFG. What is EFG? Position, track line, energy, formation, location, and grounds. That's the image. Now, you do that through intent, you do that through observation, or you do that through influence. It's totally up to you what you want to do with those applications into 8-line setting, EFG. Okay, 8 equals lines of binary. Okay, through this, through zeros and ones and its letters and its applications. How do you think about that? It's like, whoa, this is complicated. See, it's getting more complicated, right? All through setting. Okay, through the seconds, through the minutes, and the hours. So you have to be very cautious of what you say to yourself because it's going through positive and negative. Remember, set location line settings. You want to go in the same direction, just different locations, right? Box line, triangulation line, set calculation lines of a square line. Okay, this is not the same as this. This is a box. This is a box triangulation. This is a box. This is a box triangulation. This is a triangulation. Okay. Now, where is it going in tractions? 4 track line connections. So every time you're speaking, it's going through zeros and ones. Okay. It's going through zeros and ones. Yay! Look at that. Whoa. So we get a 3 track line provision and set it in the same direction, right? If it's going in the opposite directions, the zeros and ones get off position of balance. Oh no, This isn't good through a binary. So this is how a computer relates to everything of its speaking, how it sets up its algorithm through its transistors, of its resistors, to its binary, to its capacity, of its singularity, or its formations of patterns. Okay? To its capacitors. All right. So when you get into that line conditionalized center interference, you understand how to use direct and redirect everything that you do in tractions. Okay? If I get 11 provision, the setting of travel, this is how you come into set lines of high center interference. Even the time sequence is an image, because 40 lines at 54, it's just a clock. That's all it is. It's just a clock. It's a clock. It's live. It's in 4103, right? So it's going through time, right? Which is going very fast. You see it through its image. There's no difference. But the position line calculation setting puts you in settings of a thought that you can't recognize the image because there's no clarity, there's no focus, right? Well, that's all going to change the mind of travel, okay, in set locations. Okay, so track division line cycles, try high lines, high direct location system, okay? All right, so we got 11 equals lines of 4, okay? So what is 1 and 1? What is that? These could be panels, okay? This could be a graphing road. It can be anything information. What is it? It all depends on what you want it to be, okay? Your imagination is your imagination, okay? So your imagination is this phenomenon. So if you want these in position, you want it to be a road, now it's a road, right? So 1, 1 equals a road, okay? So you're expanding the two ones, right? You're adding the equation and setting, which is the space in between of its intelligence, of its formation. Okay? All right, so there's so many ways of looking at that through lines of numbers. Now, when you're putting numbers and letters together, it's forming a what? An information panel, a direct line signal, high center interference, telepathizing, set location of telekinesis. Same position track lines in line condition equals lines of E. Okay, level equals E, right? So in that track line is high center interference. In position locations comes into line centers, flux capacitor. Okay, so accumulates calculation line interference, sets lines of communication in its position, travels lines in 2-track location. Okay, sets lines of 3-track locations. Okay, equal line communication lines going this way and going this way in traction. Setting position line calculation E lines coming this way in track locations and 2-line provision. Sets communications going this way in track line conditions. Okay, setting position line calculations going downshift line connection. Process of communication lines is really understand how to travel in position locations into level and line setting locational lines in position walls calculation. Point lines of tracks into all lines of 11 equals E. This is all formation location to its what? What is it coming into? Its image of correlation. Okay, so I'm just showing exactly how it turns into its formation of its morphing. Travel calculation of 2, travel locations of 3. Okay, now it doesn't look like much, right? But if you look really close, you can actually see it forming an image in set location. What is it in tractions of? What do you see its tractions of in set location? What is it tractions of? What do you see? What do you see through an image? What do you see through an image? What do you see through an image? It's a fish. Okay? All through 11 equals E. Creates an image, right? So get in that adaptation, how a computer comes in its setting to create an image. Through its alphabetical system of matrix green lines, high center interference, and grid lines, communication setting the traffic flow communication to its inventory. There's the fish. Wow. Okay? So, looking at these is really to understand how to formulate your set locations into your computer framing. Okay. This gets you in a direct signal in set locations. How to really understand how to use that. Okay. I just showed you exactly how you come into formations, how 11 or two ones equals E comes into an image of a fish. All right. See, without even thinking. The adaptation of the mind is going too fast. So the thoughts are changing into images now because it's accelerating. The part accelerator of the oscillators of the oscillation is changing programs, and it's directing your signals into modification system into its traffic flow. So you're going to start to recognize everything that's coming out of your voice and line grids and set line connections that's creating its binary in set position to turn it into an image through set location. Okay. So you have to recognize the travel lines and how to get in position travels through one, how one travels in two, how one travels in four, how one travels in six, and how one travels in eight. Okay. 8 directions. Okay. All through one, right? All through travel. Now you get a point track lines, 4 clocking systems of travel, direct signals, position and track lines of communication. Let's go through travels, direct signals, modification cycles, 4 track locations of clockings, all through one. You want to get a graph calculation as a box frame. There it is in travel communication. Okay. Setting position travel calculation lines, you have your flywheel that's in the center operation. Okay. Energetic domes, location grids, or face recognition. Okay. All through one. See? All through one. Number one. And look what I created. Look what I created through one. Has it left the page? No. Okay. You've got to come into that formation. Okay. Come into that formation. Right? But what is it coming in fractions of? The number 4. See how I turned it into 4? Look. 4. Number 4. Which is what? Solar generator. Boom. Okay. So how you see through your perception screen line is understanding how a computer comes into its memory, how it creates its image. And that's what I'm showing you guys. That's how a computer comes into frame in position of a transistor and a resistor to its binary, of its capacity, of its capacitors, of its mass, volume, velocity, and acceleration of Mach in position travel lines or anything in those applications into mass, into calculus over its equation. Okay? Very powerful stuff, isn't it? To understand that is to understand you more. Okay? More. Box in that binary. Okay? So break it down. M-O-R-E. What is it? Memory. Okay? Operation. Reminder. Okay? Of its energy. Okay? Now, what is that in track line connection of letters? 1, 2, 3, 4. So M equals lines of 4. Operation lines, 2 track locations, split anomalies, 2 track calculation line settings. O equals 2. Okay? Sets lines calculation high interference at E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. E equals lines of 6. Information. That is all through a binary of a computer, of a memory in calculation to its algorithm. Boom. Okay. I just told you exactly what everything is in here through more of its memory, of its operation, of its reminder, of its energy. Image. Okay. Your image, computer's image through binary. Okay. Isn't that wild? See, the thing is, you guys have to understand how to formulate clockings of a computer of its memory, which is very complicated if you don't understand yourself, all of its applications, right? All right, so when you get in that setting, this is image on image on image on image on image on image and files, right? So it all comes back in tractions, right? More box frames, more box frames, more box frames, more mainframes. Here's a mainframe set location, right? So everything here changes the equation, right? So it's very simple. And we'll start off again in set lines of t, right? If the t is going to travel, it has to travel from to and from, right? Here, there, that's pi. Here, that's pi. Here, that's pi. Oh, face recognition. All through t, right? See the face? Then you got the neck. Then you got the shoulders. All through t, right? So T is always a formation of what? Telegraphing, telecommunications, and teleportation. Teleweaving, right? And track lines in 3 set locations, right? So T equals 3, okay? And that's in position of binary, how a computer comes into its memory. T equals 3. So this is you. This is your computer. That's how your computer computes the setting of its memory through its transistors and resistors as it goes on and as it goes off. Okay, so that's the formations of T in a 3-track location of location, which is what? Mother Earth, different intelligence. See? So you got Mother Earth equals 3. Right? Again, you image your computer, binary. You understand? So you're creating a traffic flow, creating an algorithm, you know. Do you get a better understanding how that works now through computer? Your computer line, how it comes into line, so it's image, Mother Earth, and then Mother Earth travels, Mother Earth travels, Mother Earth travels, these applications. Okay. Whoa, way over my head, General. I don't understand any of this. I'm just showing you how to process this through yourself. Okay, how a computer comes into its memory. Every time you speak, okay, it's speaking through its binary. It's speaking through its transistors and resistors and its capacity of its capacitors, of its all setting locations of its light switches. But that's what it formulates. It's all through identification. So we're going to use 0 lines. Let's go into L. That's equal lines of 0 equals lines of box. Okay, bracket in position. That's a binary. Now, you want to travel through it. Sets position of 2. 0 equals 2. Okay, and you got 1, 2, 3. So L equals 3. And you got the calculation lines, which is position location. You can do this in setting, right? Because it's equal calculations. Then you have position of 2 track lines. Okay, so 0 equals 2, set location. Now, once you get into that position of process, you have to really understand how to formulate that line connection. So you have a 2-track line, so it's 1, 2, 3, and it's at 4. So 2 equals lines of 4 in travocations. Now that over lines is 4 line equals lines over pi in travocations. So this is a binary to computer to its image. Okay. Now, once it gets more complicated, it comes into a rainbow graph screen, 0, 1, 0. So when you add letters, we're just going to add the E lines and F and G. Okay. Start with that, right? So you're going down and you're moving across. Okay. You got to go on the right line, not the left line, because you're working with the Earth. This is Earth. Okay. Sets position, this is space. Sets location, this is time. Okay. Time is on the left, not the right. So it's a triangulation split, the 3-line connection. Okay. All right. So nat track lines comes into position at all levels. So you Merkaba, tesseract, and tetrahedron. Okay. So you up line, swing line, high calculation position of programs. Direct its arrow in any position location, you create a box frame. Hoo-ah. Now, in line calculation lines, you come into patterns. Now you come into singularities. Graph and calculation lines are graph lines, high center interference of travel. Point lines is track into its graphical calculation screen locations adaptation. Okay, so you're creating a graphical screen on a 45-degree angle. Triangulation split, 3-line calculations, 3 in measure. Okay, setting travel calculation of point lines and track lines, guys, you have to understand how to identify your system and travel communications point system into line calculation setting. Right? Timestamp calculation, there it is. There's your image, timestamp. Okay. And so you really have to understand how it correlates this calculation line setting, because each graphical screen has to understand U interactions. So 1 goes in provision. All right. 0 comes in operation. Okay. And L lines a setting. Okay. And then in position F comes in calculation. Okay. And E allocates this time sequence. There it is. You see it? Look, there's the image. Boom. What is it? What is it? Dinosaur. You see it? Oh, what is it? It's 2 images. You see it? 2 eyes here, but also eye here up here. So it's a dinosaur and what else? All right. It's complicated, right? Because look, it's a face and a dinosaur in one. See, if I do it this way, you can see the image, right? Look, boom, right? You see 2, right? So that's 2 images in one that you did through voice line grid. Face recognition of a dinosaur. Boom! Face recognition of a dinosaur. Face recognition of a dinosaur. And that's how your computer operates through its memory of its alphabetical system. Okay? Are you blown away yet? All through graph calculation setting to travel. Boom. See? Face, dinosaur. Face, recognition of a dinosaur. Face, recognition of a dinosaur through 0s and 1s, and set lines of letters and set location of graph calculation strings and all track location in position of its operation. Track to its calculation. Look at that. Face, recognition of a dinosaur. Boom. Binary. Okay. Let's formulate it, put it in position attractions, all setting calculation. And there it is. And what is it through line calculations of? What? another face. You see it? See how I changed the face? 2 eyes and a mouth this way? Oh, look at that. You got to see it in all angles, right? So it's going very, 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 very fast. So it's changing image, second minute, hour, 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 second minute, hour. Okay? That's how fast your computer's going. Okay? That's 3 recognitions of 1 dinosaur. Now it's 4 recognitions of 1 dinosaur because the face changed. Look. All right? Watch the face change. Watch the face change. Watch the face change. Watch the face change. See? Now sad. It was sad. What happened? My water. I'm sad. I'm not happy. I'm sad now. So that's 4 face recognitions of 1 dinosaur. Add. Okay? But there's another face, see? Right? At the bottom. It's amazing what you can do, guys. Once you stand in all calculations, to all point centers of travel. Now you really start to see the dinosaur. Oh, another face. That's 5 face recognitions of a dinosaur site locations. All through its image of you speaking through a binary. I can keep going and add faces. Oh, there's another one. What's going on there? Right? Oh, there's another one. Dun, 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 dun. See the hat? Indiana Jones? So it's amazing of what you can do through the seconds, minutes, and hours through a binary coming into different images, all through a graphical screen into a dinosaur. Boom. Okay, but see it all the way around. Isn't that wild? You got to see it all the way around. Now it's different again. See? See how I changed it? Whoa. Whoa. Right? Oh, we got another face. Who? What's up with you? Right? That's 6 face recognitions of a dinosaur. And I can just keep going, and I can just keep going, and I can just keep going. Okay? I'm showing you the powerful line of what your computer does through a binary. And that's how you come into all lines, all communications of different images of face recognition to a dinosaur. Boom! Now, what do you think of that? You guys blown away yet? And that's how your computer goes through its memory and all setting and calculations when you speak. How it creates its image through its graphical calculation settings and its traffic flow of its system of operation, guys, of its inventory. Okay, through numbers and letters only to its dinosaur. Boom! Oh, now he's got teeth. Right? And it disappears. All right, so how does everybody feel about that now? Getting a little bit more understanding how that works now through your voice and line grids and high performance calculation stream interference. how you take position lines and track lines into 11 equals lines of E comes into a fish. There's all different ways to set in lines of communications to connect to your system. So every time you're speaking, it's creating, it's forming into its image of set design through its binary. Binary. Okay? Zeros and ones. Let's add an 8-line setting. Sets by the location of 6. Set a triangulation. Let's set a percentage. Let's set a question. Let's exclamation mark. Sets lines of two-way communication. See them moving? See how they're moving? 3 track line connections. 1, 2, 3. 3 equals lines. Sets by location of 3. 3 equals 3, right? Sets lines of communication binary. Sets line calculation high interference. So we get position lines, equal line correlate high interference of 0, 8, 6. Set line connection high interference and question mark communications. Send a calculation high stream interference and direct applications in line settings into percentage of calculation. There's the algorithm right there. Boom. Okay. So that's what you guys are creating as an algorithm line screen first, right? There's the application to your settings, because you have to understand how this correlates everything to your settings and travel. It directs signals, modification of screen, interference, travel position, its operation. Okay, through all indications, right? But it's powerful stuff when you see it through graph calculation screens. I just keep going on, and I just keep creating face recognitions of a dinosaur. Every time it's speaking, I'm creating different lines of communication, right? It's absolutely amazing, isn't it? It's incredible, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely incredible. Oh, we got another one. See? 2 line settings. So that's 7. 7 face recognition of a dinosaur. Just keep going and going and going and going and going and going and going. Now that's one platform and one graph calculation screen lines of seconds, minutes, and hours. Right? So 7 face recognition setting locations. That's on Earthline. What is it in space? It all depends on what you want in tractions. How many files and correlations are coming in track location, your seconds, minutes, and hours, and speed. 7 million face recognitions. 7 million face recognitions of one dinosaur in track location. Ooh-ah. So that's 7 face line calculation streams in direction, all through calculation. Okay? So understanding that through point tracks gets you in a better provision lines of cycles. So once you get into that line connection nice interference, you know exactly what you're saying because it's coming into its system. System, binary. You understand? Binary. I think I do. Binary, right? Everything is a binary. So it's binary, 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 binary. Everything has to flow. Okay? Talking, binary, right? Okay, I is not a binary. A binary is a position location and putting things into singularity, into formations, into patterns. You have a singularity box, or you got 2 boxes in position. So you got 4 settings. That's 8 patterns in position of 4 equals lines of 8. Okay, so track location line interference. Binary has to be in a 4 provision. Okay, a binary is not a singularity. Okay, so remember that. So in that position line calculations, it is 2, 4 calculation lines, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, now it correlates the calculation line position with what you want in tractions. So 2 lines of provision, 4 lines of tracks, and center calculations. You got it, not lines that think like a computer, but become a computer. I am a computer through memory. Sets lines of tracks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 location. Streaming calculation streams, 8 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Creating calculations of pi, track location line and inference into light and dark web and set location. Setting position lines, high calculations, block line circuits, data highways and traffic calculation point centers, and track to its communication setting and position its operation. Okay, all through traction. Okay, all through traction and set location. Okay, face recognition. See the guys? Boom, boom. So face recognition of everything, but it's very powerful how your images are created through its computer, its memory, right? To understand the settings, how you communicate with your numbers, your letters, your shapes, your symbols. So all you're doing is you're formulating binaries, okay? Setting correlation, setting the track lines, high position, its operating system. 0 calculation line setting, 0, right? On switch, 1, okay? So there's lines of communication where you can equal line coordinates setting height and interference of L. Okay. Remember, formation lines of computer of its memory, how it comes in coordinates to setting attractions, location is cerebral, position of travel lines, and placing with cortex lines, the high calculation. Putting position to its location is all lines of indication. So one line centers height interference in position of 2. Okay. Sets lines calculation of 2. Right. So you get a 2-track revision, 0 calculations, and 2-line rotation. Okay, travel directions is same directions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, setting lines of 2, 0, and calculation lines, equals line correlations in level. That's a binary. Okay, setting correlation line interference into all position of travel calculation line system is all track locations to another binary. Okay, in position line calculation, setting a high line connecting a high center interference is another binary. Setting communication line interference line calculating line settings into circular line rotation surface in your cerebral cortex line of design position of travel. Okay. So correlate calculation of 2, platforms of 1 and position of 2 interactions. Platforms of communication, right? Direct modification lines of 3 in position of 4 and track location. Okay. So you get a 1-line center, velocity, volume, vast. 3 track lines provision, 3 equals lines of calculation lines of 3. Sets correlations of 3. Travel calculation, triangulation line, inference of 3-point track lines, split the anomalies calculation lines, 3 equals lines of 2. 2 equals lines of 5, 5 equals lines of 7, 7 in the high position of 12, 12 equals lines of 24. 24 calculates height inference in position of 48, 72, and 144 in track location system. Setting high in inference, a high position is calculation. Okay. So there's its image. All right. Everything formulates an image. You just have to understand how to use it through your binary. So remember, singularities are not binaries. You're forming a binary. So your traffic, your flow, your inventory, right? So this is a binary. 4 tracks. Okay. This is a binary. 2 tracks. This is not a binary. That's a singularity. Okay. See how that works? Singularity, binary, binary. Okay. You got it? You see how that works now? And set position your transition resistors. Understanding the transistors line calculation setting. 1 is on setting, right? So this is off. Okay. This is off. Okay. Position of 1 and position of 1 triangulation line interference. This is on and traction. Okay. So that's 2 off switches into 1, which is what? Binary traction. Binary traction. Okay. Binary traction is an off switch, on switch. Binary reception of a T reception line screen and high calculation position modification system of an image is an on switch, off switch. Okay, so we got into that binary retraction, but I just wanted to show you guys of what you guys are coming into now, because your images are now in sequence. They're in position of process through its binary and its retraction of its binary. So be careful what you're doing with your on and off switches, eh? Because either way, you're going to create the image. Now, the image like formulates the set location lines. You guys understand your light, position, and travel calculation lines. So your transmitters and receivers, right? So in that correlation setting, you have your line connections to your light switches and your dark switches. Okay, that's connected to your transistors and resistors that comes to your coders and decoders and decodecs. So there's a lot of communication that you have to understand how to use it through traction. Okay, that formulates the line calculations, how to use your binaries of retraction. Okay, how to basically turn on a switch, how to turn off a switch, but start off with the off switch and turn on a switch. Okay, that's line calculation setting position your flux through your oscillators, to your oscillations, to your accelerators, to your acceleration, to your accelerators of calculations. So calculation over pi positions your track location, your settings. Okay. So once you understand the computer memory of you, everything comes in its formation to its image of its calculation. Okay. And I created another image. That's 8 face recognitions of a dinosaur. Okay. So basically, it just keeps moving by itself. Everything operates by itself. You don't touch anything. The mind does everything. Okay? You don't touch anything. The mind does everything. Okay? You don't touch anything. The mind does everything. But that's a process you guys have to come into first. You have to do it through its computer of its memory to understand yourself through your own settings, how to formulate a binary in your position to form its image and set location. Okay? So, there's a lot of things you can look at and understand how to get into that formation location of settings, especially when you come into this set locations. Okay? All in the same direction, just different locations. Okay? Through its box, through its triangulation, or its box triangulation. See? There's a triangulation there. Right? So it's all about understanding how to surface line screens and direct signal locations to allocating line switching. Now, allocating line switching is understanding your system locations, your oscillations, oscillation patterns, lines calculation, your positional formations of all of your DNA. Your DNA is a track location line system that puts position line centers into your flux capacitor. Okay? So getting grounds, lines, and communication line settings, you have to balance out what you're doing through travel and set location. Setting calculation lines, your grounds, position your powers, and flux capacitor. Here goes a light bulb. Okay. Setting position line centers, height, interference. I'm going to blow you guys away. So what is your body in position to its settings of travel? What is it position of travel? What is it in correlation to that line instead of travel? It's a light bulb. So you are the battery in set location to its light bulb. Now, what are the three track provisions? 1, 2, 3, that's in a light bulb, a voltage. What's in the positional center line calculation setting? Past, present, and future. Yeah, all through light bulb. So you're the base. You're the battery that sets the correlation setting attractions. You are the grounds of operation. You are the balance of circulation. You are the center correlation setting to the light bulb. 20 watt, 40 watt, 60 watt, 80 watt, 100 watt, 140 watt, 240 watt. Okay. So you get an idea of what happens. An idea. Unanalyzed settings and highest interference. Hey, I got an epiphany. And all calculation is position of point centers through its idea of its base. This is you. This is set location line connection to its line settings of its light. Right? So in that track line, what's in the center communication? What is in the center of communication? Your brain. Oh my gosh, look at that. So what goes on in the light center's line calculation setting position? Plasma, liquid formation, cerebral cortex of design, and settings of what? In position of calculations and track location of, you guessed it, face recognition. Boom. Done by equation. Face recognition. Ooh, ah. Okay? So now you understand what your body is and what this is. Makes sense though when you look at it through face recognition settings. It's pretty incredible, right? How you guys are connected to a battery through voltage, megawatts, gigawatts, right? Multi layers of view of lights and traction. Framing position line calculation setting that's creating data of operation settings of travel communication. All through setting. Through an algorithm, through a program, and its application of travel. Okay? Oh yeah. All right, we're done. So, how does everybody feel now? More confused, less confused, more understanding, less understanding? But at least you understand what the idea is in position at all levels. It's coming in track applications, how you come in at face recognition, your settings, how you come in your grounds lines of yourself through operation, through face recognition, through a light bulb. What do you think processes you when you get it in your settings? Flash. It's a light flash coming from somewhere. It's coming from you inside, right? So in that triangle line calculation time position of programs, it says communication settings. Fires and wires, your application line system, inside connections, which is what? Your brain. Communicates the wires, lines, electrical calculation position programs, and direct signals. Modification system and travel calculation point centers. Travel calculation. There it is. Boom. Okay. Light goes on. Okay. There you go. All right. So we're good. Okay. See you in a few.